which, man, talk about having the cojones. I mean, this is a guy I would want representing me. I mean, he gets out of being detained, and it's just like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Arrest me again?
Yes.
Mike's excited. Hey, everyone, and welcome to... Oh, my God, you look like a deer caught in headlights right there. We're live! We're live with another episode of the Blue Sedition podcast. I'm Nate Brady. There is my wide-eyed co-host.
Yeah, brown-eyed and bushy-tailed, baby. I'm ready to go.
Yeah,
I'm Mike Smith. This is the Blue Sedition podcast.
We're doing this. We're doing it. We got a lot to talk about today. You wouldn't believe it, but things are still happening. It seems like every day I wake up, a thing has happened.
Yes.
And then we get to talk about it.
Yeah.
And today, multiple things.
It's no different.
It's
Today's
no different.
just another day. The world is still ending.
Listen, when Kamala Harris became the, Democratic presidential nominee somehow.
When she was democratically picked at a convention by the Democrat caucus to be the presidential pick. Sure. That's what you're talking about?
That thing that I had no say in. We were doing the podcast. We had just started doing the pod. I think that these were like the early episodes, right? And we were a little easier on the Democrats than you and I actually are in real life, because we knew what an absolute disaster, another Trump presidency would be. And I don't want to say that we were selling out or anything. I mean, we weren't getting paid by the Democratic Party. We just knew it was the unfortunate situation that we find ourselves in every 4 years, where we are forced to choose the lesser of two evils. But what made it especially disturbing this time around was that for some people in Gaza, it was the same evil. It was, there's currently a genocide, and there's going to continue to be a genocide, no matter what happens. And anyway, that's to say, I wasn't really that hard on the Democrats until after the election. And now I'm going to go back to being really fucking angry at the Democrats again. And I'm going to do this until they fucking do it right. And it seems
until they figure it out.
It seems like these people just can't do it right. I want to start today's episode with a story, one of our more recent posts on Blue Sky as well. But Jared Kushner's ex-con father was confirmed by the Senate to be the next ambassador to France. So Charles Kushner is now the incoming ambassador to France. And there was one Democratic senator who voted to confirm him. One out of the whole group. Well, mind you, there was a Republican senator in Murkowski who didn't vote to confirm him. So who do you think the Dem senator was? I mean, you know. And
I know the answer.
We know. But would you believe it, if you're just listening to this for the first time, go ahead and pause the video and just think. Have a nice little thought. If you're driving, if you're watching on YouTube, just sit back and think, who would be the terrible Dem senator that would do this? Now, if you were thinking John Fetterman, you're actually wrong.
It was a good guess, though.
It was a great guess. Give yourself a little pat on the back. Now be shocked by the fact that it was Cory freaking Booker. The guy who spent...
Didn't he just do some sort of publicity stunt, sort of grandstanding against the Republicans and the Trump admin in general, and talking about how terrible everything is? And so now he's voting to confirm convicted felons. Positions.
Well,
okay.
Charles Kushner had noted his special and close friendship with the senator in prepared testimony for his confirmation hearing. Boy, that's one way to do it, huh? So New Jersey Senator Cory Booker, in his prepared It was confirmed by New Jersey Senator Cory Booker. I wanted to share this story particularly because if you thought that these Democratic senators were out fighting for you, were out doing the right thing for you, they're not, man. They're just, it's all political. They're just doing their little deals and their little paybacks and their little IOUs, and they're sorting that all out. And it has nothing to do with you. So here is an article from 2013 from Politico where Trump and Ivanka hosted a fundraiser for Cory Booker, and this was for his while he was still mayor of Newark to become senator with a $4,200 per person plate, this special dinner, whatever it is. You know how it goes. You know how it is.
You know how political fundraisers work.
You go to them all the time.
You pay,
yeah.
You pay a small fortune to get the chance to shake his hand that evening and have some overcooked chicken.
So this is the guy that he's obviously had presidential hopes. We've seen him in the primaries before. We've seen him on the debate stage, and he was clearly that stunt, which wasn't a filibuster. It was simply we're going to hold things up for 24 hours, and then it's going to go back to business as usual. That little, as you called it, publicity stunt was a clear move. Somebody in his team dreamt it up, like, oh, we're going to do this thing to drum up publicity and get ready for your big run in 2028. So we can point back to all of these things that you did to fight Trump. And here we are, Cory Booker not doing those things. I don't know what to say about this. I don't know what else to say. I mean, how many times do we have to tell you?
Yeah. I don't know if to me this means he's more likely to run for president again or less likely to run again, because he's clearly got a toehold in as a senator, but also if you're confirming, felons to official positions, you're sort of you're giving the game away. How is it not the first thing on the debate stage? Why did you why were you the only Democrat to confirm this felon to this position?
Right.
Then you lose. So
why? Because he's my friend. Okay, there it is right there. They're not your representative. These people are doing things for themselves. Okay, if Cory Booker was your representative, he would note that his constituents wouldn't want Charles Kushner, ex-con, approved. But here we are. He's doing it for himself. He's not doing it for us. So, huzzah! Let's just move on.
What a great appointment! Thank God we learned to reach across the aisle and come to an agreement on.
Yeah, and what are we getting?
Felons should be in the federal government running things.
What are we going to get in return for this? Anything? Or how's this going to work out for us?
You're going to get a lot more emails and texts and things from Cory Booker.
That's
campaign
true.
for Cory Booker 2028.
That's true.
And
it's going to say
to match your $10 donation or whatever.
By midnight, rush in your $25 and we'll 10x match it by midnight. Okay, just use the $250 then and pretend I made the $25 donation. Okay. Let's move on. Trump warns Walmart, don't you dare raise prices due to my tariffs, but do eat the costs from those taxes. Mike, what the hell? What's happening here?
It's kind of hilarious to me. Like, I don't know if he thought that he would have the type of political clout that is required to tell a privately held business. I'm sorry, Walmart's a publicly traded business.
Well,
but
sure.
To tell a business whose main objectives is profit over anything else to say, cut into your profits to eat for these tariffs, or I swear to God, and then nothing else.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what else he could do. He can't find them for anything. It's the free market, baby. If you're going to put all of these tariffs on the things that they're selling, they're not going to foot that bill. Their customers are going to foot that bill, and that's going to piss their customers off. Wondering what the demographics around Walmart customers and voting for Trump actually are, but I'm guessing it's quite in his favor. So this probably doesn't play well if they're like putting up stickers and things being like, this is now more expensive because of the tariffs. Good luck. Like,
I mean, my response as Walmart would be exactly that. Unless they're afraid. It would be red little Trump did this stickers on everything. You know,
I mean, they won't, because
they
it's been, and we've seen this from all these corporations, is that they play to the current administration, no matter who it is. They don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. They want the Republicans to win by and large, but if there's a Democrat in power, they don't try and, bust their chops or anything.
Right.
Same, I would imagine, would happen for Trump, where they're just going to be like, look, we'll be real quiet about it, but we're raising prices because of your tariffs.
And hats off to Josh Bowick here, who is the writer of this AP article. One of the things I really appreciate is the first sentence of the second paragraph here that states, as Trump has jacked up import taxes. Thank you. That's all tariffs are. It's an import tax. Call it what it is.
Call it what it is.
So all of you bootlicking, flag flying, don't tread on me losers who also are really angry about taxes without representation. You barely understand half the words you speak. This is a tax. You are paying for it. Even if Walmart, does some smoke and mirror tricks where it doesn't look like they'll find a way to make money and get it from you they're not just going to eat these costs. They're not, right. It's just not going to happen.
But it's even, I say worse, but this is a kettle of fish that we need to sort of dig into a bit more, because corporations like Walmart and Amazon and whatnot basically pay no taxes to begin with. So it's not like they're going to be like, okay, look, we'll not offset our prices based on the tariffs if you give us a little kickback on our federal taxes that we need to pay. No, there's no maths that they can do to make that work out, come out in the laundry. It's
right.
They're just like, you raised prices, so we're going to do it too.
I mean, Trump's post is really funny, because if you strip out just a couple of words, you're like, welcome to the resistance, comrade. If you just stripped out like blaming the tariffs and a couple of other things, it's like, Walmart made billions of dollars last year, far more than thank you. This is what we're saying. know?
No, I think that's a really good point. It really does come back to the argument that you and I like to make on this show a lot, but the populist message, the one that's really simple and salient with an American voter, that they understand. This is going to cost you money. This is a tax on you. They get that.
Right.
And so that's a Bernie Sanders message.
Right.
And so if you take away the caps lock and you fix his grammatical mistakes, then that's a Bernie Sanders post.
Yeah. If you don't eat the tariffs, I mean, the tariffs shouldn't have even been a thing, but take away the tariff situation of this, Walmart is making billions and billions of dollars off the backs. It's the separation of wealth continues to grow. Those people, the board of directors, everybody else is making a ton of money. We're all suffering at the bottom. I mean, that's the message. Never mind the whole tariffs part of it, but thank you, Donald J. Trump, for making it even worse and allowing Walmart to, and we said this, dude, I said this in I said this November 30th, Walmart is going to prepare for this. They're going to make even more money from it. If tariffs cause an item to be, to cost 20% more, they're going to raise the prices 25%. They're going to find a way,
Yeah. Walmart, Amazon, all the biggest retailers in the United States are all going to do this to just offset the costs. And like you said, they've been preparing for this. They've stockpiled goods that they're going to sell at lower prices than they could anywhere else, or they bought them low and they're going to sell them high and blame the tariffs for the offset. And then they rake in a little more profit. It's a real simple scam, and it's one that's completely legal.
As always. Okay, I want to
It's a big table and you're not at it.
We have kind of a fun ebb and flow of today's episode, because there is some, the obvious every week, there's all the disturbing items that we have to talk about.
Right.
Anything that involves Trump. But then there's some funny things every once in a while. But this week we're full of some just funny, insane nonsense. So next up, let's talk a little bit about the stupidity that happened with Grok and the South African quote unquote genocide. What do you got? What do you got on that? What do you know?
Okay, so just to start off here, let's lay the ground, little context. People have been posting this since the change went live to Grok. They would ask innocuous questions of the AI, what do you think about Twitter, the everything company, or whatever? And it would give its normal, AI response. But then people started noticing this let's talk about the South African white genocide, and it's always like paired in. Like people started posting screenshots of the most ridiculous things, like, Grok, what is 2 + 2? And it would be like 2 + 2 is 4. And can I talk to you a bit about the white genocide in South Africa? And you're like, what?
It was like,
Nate, you and I, we work in computer science. We deal with AIs a lot. It's big in our field at the moment. So we spend more time than I care to admit dealing with these things, interoperating with them, integrating them into services. Can we say definitively that some engineer at some level in that company decided, today I'm going to alter this system prompt, and it's now going to inject this South African white genocide theme into any response it deemed worthy of happening?
So for those of you that don't really understand how these chatbots work, let's give you a very, very high level. This is very, very high level. Computer scientists, if you're out there, you don't have to drop into the comments and explain it to us. We know how it works. Drop into
the comments and explain it. It's fine.
Do that. But I'm just going to give like a very very high level, okay? These chatbots are trained on just a very, very, very large data set. I mean, we're talking an unfathomable amount of data, okay, that they train on, that they build their knowledge base on. And then on top of that, there's what we kind of call like the refining layer. But it's basically like, okay, now you have all of this knowledge. Now we're going to kind of give you more instructions. We're going to tell you what's a good response, what's a bad response. And then kind of at the highest level, at the kind of right before it hits the consumer, there is what we call a system prompt. And that is where you give kind of your final instructions to the chatbot before it hits the end user. And I think recently, I don't know if it was Grok's, I think it was Grok's entire system prompt was leaked. Somebody's systems prompt was either way. What clearly happened here is that somebody who has access to the system prompt at the top level, they said, okay, if somebody asks about white genocide, here's some things I would like you to say. Now, chatbots don't always understand those if-then things. Because these chatbots are just next word token predictors. They're just going, okay, I have a series of words, and I'm just going to put the word that I think goes next, okay? So they don't really think like you think they do, okay? So what's happening in these large system prompts is sometimes the AI gets confused. They see all of this information, and then they're like, okay, you also sent me 40 bullet points about white genocide in South Africa, so clearly you want me to talk about white genocide in South Africa. So I know you've also sent me like a dog show meme or whatever, but I also want to talk to you about white genocide in South Africa. And that is clearly what happened here. So so Elon Musk is now saying, or a representative from his company is saying, that this was an unauthorized modification. He's the only person in the company that cares about, quote unquote, the fake white genocide happening in South Africa.
That's amazing. I mean, the fact that we're not surprised by the gall of Elon Musk here, but I mean, he is South African. He is very clearly a vocal advocate for the white people from South Africa. He was talking, I'm not on Twitter anymore, but I did see a headline talking about how he went on a tirade about how they're suffering a white genocide over there. And he was, because we just took in a bunch of refugees from there. They were given refugee status from South Africa.
Even though we stopped the refugee program?
Yes.
Wait, I don't understand. We're not taking refugees from Haiti or South American country, anywhere. Where I don't understand. Oh, okay. Yeah, I get it. It's the racism.
It's the Peter Griffin meme where
it's
cop holds up the card.
yeah,
Terrorist, not terrorist. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I just want to point out, by the way, that this is something that Elon Musk always does. His whole playbook is just, it's so out in the open and so predictable. Just like when we ask, where's the fraud? When he consistently says that Doge is finding fraud and waste, and we're like, okay, who did it? Tell us who did it. Same thing here. The company will not disclose who's responsible for the change, but stated that it was not in line with XAI's core values and guidelines. Who did it then? Who's getting fired? Who's the person responsible, right? Somebody, if it's not in line with the company's core values and guidelines, then Elon Musk, for a change that was so drastic, made global news, affected every single user of your site.
Hilarious.
Then tell us, then clearly somebody is being punished for it. No, they're not, because it so obviously came from Elon. It's so obvious.
It was directed by Elon in one form or another.
I mean, come on, give me a break. So they spent a ton of time cleaning up all of the posts. They programmatically deleted all responses that included white, but of course we got receipts. They got screenshots. They're everywhere. It's absurd.
They're included in the show notes today. There's at least a couple of tweets in there of really, really silly examples of Grok trying to insert this narrative about the South African white genocide.
Right, and you have to remember, Elon Musk, you can look at his history of tweets. He has been a loud amplifier of disinformation, misinformation, about white genocide in Africa and South Africa. Obviously, this came from him. What are we doing? What are we talking about? And this brings up obviously the bigger problem that we don't have time to go into today, but there are issues with generative AI. And if you cannot, it's funny. I think it is funny because I've done it where, somebody makes a ridiculous post and you go, hey, Grok, is this true? And then Grok is like, no, that's not true at all. And it's funny because it even corrects Elon. And it's funny when that happens. But the truth of the matter is, especially in these closed source models like Grok is, somebody has control of that. Somebody has control of the training. Somebody has control of the system prompts. That means that you cannot trust it. Okay, you can't rely on generative AI as the definitive source of truth. So,
and we talked about this in a previous episode, I think, when we were talking about DeepSeek that had been released by the Chinese. I think the government, but I'm not entirely sure. It could have just been a company.
I think it was a company in
state-sponsored company or something.
I don't know that
but
they were,
the whole point,
probably.
The point was they were releasing this open model, generative AI model, and they were giving it away for free, and it ran on super cheap hardware and scored comparably to like OpenAI's at the time 4.0 model and all this other stuff. But again, we're talking about these system prompts where somebody at Grok was clearly like, talk about the white genocide in South Africa. The DeepSeek AI is no different. If you asked it about Tiananmen Square or anything like that, it was trained on information and probably given system prompts to avoid that topic or not disavow it entirely. And we see that in I'm sure all models have that. OpenAI famously won't do anything with famed or celebrity type people. If you're like render an image of Donald Trump, it won't do it, and that's part of the system prompting.
Exactly.
And it's usually to try and suppress, but in this one's like just add just a little morsel of South African white genocide. If you feel like it.
By the way, DeepSeek is let's backtrack one more time. DeepSeek is an artificial intelligence company based out of China. It was founded by and funded by a Chinese hedge fund called High Flyer. Yeah. So
I thought it had state ties, but I guess I'm wrong.
I mean, listen, everything that comes out of China has state ties, just like in the United States. We were just talking about Walmart, right? If you want to be a player in the United States, people don't think of it the same way. because we're born here. It's U.S.
Right,
companies, but
right.
it's the same thing. If you want all these nice things to happen to you, you want your little tax breaks, you got to play nice with the government. And that's the same thing over there. I mean, you remember that what was the big Alibaba, right? You remember the founder of Alibaba was like on the run from the Chinese government because he wasn't playing nice. So it doesn't matter if you're a multi-billion-dollar company, if you don't play nice with the governments, it's going to go very bad for you.
Yeah, they'll find somebody to take your spot who will play nice.
Exactly. Okay, so that was a little bit of fun. Let's go back into a little bit of disturbing stuff. And Mike, you shared this with me the other day, and I started scrolling through it yesterday morning. I think you shared it with me. I started scrolling through it, and I'm not surprised by any of this, but I think it's still important to talk about because
I think that this is so for people who are just listening. This is a comprehensive new data analysis into why Harris lost in 2024. It does statistical analysis through polling and other methodologies to try and see who voted for what and how they historically voted for what, and then tries to align that data to come up with a narrative to help explain how Trump won and how Harris lost.
Right.
And so I think that first headline there is the broad strokes takeaway here, right? It says the Obama coalition turned into the Trump coalition. Obama ran on a very, as we've said millions of times, populist style message. He tried to incorporate more people into the tent, try and get them into the coalition. And he did a great job rallying people to his causes, and he won 2 elections because of it. And Trump did the same thing. Harris, not so much. Harris was, we wait, like you said at the outset when she was campaigning still, we were complaining quite a bit about her, scolding protesters of the Israeli genocide of Gaza. And you're not building a coalition with that. You're separating yourself and your tent from people who would otherwise probably vote for you.
Right.
And I think that this is a huge rebuke to the entire Democrat establishment idea of we need to get these types of voters and then you push them all away instead.
So I need to say this because I need to say it every single time. Okay.
Say it this time.
I need people to hear this. Okay. Because there's always excuses after Democrats lost. And especially if you were one of those people that had, Kamala shirts on and you were out there and you were canvassing and you were rallying, this hurts you deeply, right? And I totally get it. But when you come and you go, it's just racism and misogyny, we'll get him next time. Guys, we elected a man named Barack Hussein Obama. Now I understand, okay, the difference here is that Kamala is a woman, clearly. So we can't just say, okay, if we take being black president out of the equation, now difference between man and a woman, sure, possible, okay? But Barack Obama, on both of his terms, ran on a much more progressive message, even though it's arguable whether or not he delivered on many of his promises. But clearly, when you're running around with Liz Cheney and basically saying that the status quo is just fine when people are struggling, when there's a genocide in Gaza, when terrible things are happening, yes, we get it that the other side is bad, but it's your job to win over these voters, okay? I don't want to hear anymore, well, it's the lesser of 2 evils. No, win me over. It doesn't work. It's clear that it doesn't work, that saying, hey, just look at how bad that guy is. That's not the message that people want to hear. It didn't work for Hillary.
No, it didn't.
It only worked for Biden. I'm telling you right now, I've
told
you this before.
In the throes of a COVID.
In the throes of COVID, anybody was going to win that election. I could have won.
And we'll point out that Biden came down to like 16,000 votes in Georgia, and he's that close to losing.
Right. So I think that a Bernie Sanders would have blown Trump away. Like Trump would have been embarrassed. Okay.
I'm tired of hearing, like you said, that argument of I need to vote for the lesser of two evils. Have we tried someone who's not evil? We could try that.
We could just try that. Okay. And
I
now
want to go.
we did do that.
I want to.
Okay.
Oh, we did?
Well, Obama's first term. I mean,
yeah,
that's
his campaign.
Because
he was the not evil candidate. I mean, I get that.
I was a Hillary Clinton supporter. And I think
I
said
until
that
you heard him speak.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a Hillary Clinton supporter because of Bill Clinton. And I was like, oh, yeah, you know, whatever. And then he started speaking, looked into her, etc. Sorry, go ahead. I cut you off. Go for it.
I wanted to circle back to the Liz Cheney effect.
Okay. Sure.
I can point to an exact place in the statistics where the Liz Cheney effect had measurable effect.
Negative impact.
Would you mind scrolling down on this chart? Okay. Right there. You see it? You see that little blue blip?
What is it? Oh, plus 1% with white married women. Awesome. Okay. So that whole thing where we keep trying to move right and speak to the conservative base, it worked for white married women. We lost 7% of Latino women. We lost 1% of women overall. So you gained white married women 1%, but you lost on 1% of women overall. So you have a huge net loss here.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
This graph actually speaks a lot, and I think that it's important to sort of dig into it, because what I worry is that you're going to have the Democrat think tank folks, you know, your the Raging Cajun and those type who would try and argue for the direction of the next presidential campaign, and they'll point to this graph and say, look at the voters moving to the right. This should tell you that you are too far to the left and need to come back to the quote center. Whereas I think you and I would argue,
God,
that's the wrong way to interpret this data. This data should be telling you that you didn't paint yourself different enough from the Republican, and so many voters, I think, voted differently. I don't think that they said, I'm going to vote Republican. I think that you had a lot of men in particular groups, as this data will show, voting for the man and not the woman. And you had a lot of just people generally who were first-time voters who were like, yeah, I want to vote for something that's important. And they believed the smoke and mirrors. So they voted Republican. But you know that's what's going to happen, is that James Carville is going to come out and say, these numbers mean you need to shift to the right because you're losing voters. And
I just
beg what they're going to go off of, and they're going to pick Cory Booker.
It's working already, because there is messaging like that out there already. I can see it. I can see the little rumblings in Blue Sky every once in a while where we post something like this, where I'm like, we need a more progressive message. We need a more populist message. I get, 1,000 likes and 2 people that are like so angry about that. Like, you can't do that. Like, no, you need to, that's wrong. It's the left that's been killing us. And
they always point to the same nonsense. They'll be like, Kamala ran on a progressive thing and she got destroyed by Trump. You'd be like, well, that's not reality. So why do I argue with you? There's no point.
Right. And Biden was the most progressive president in history, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. I love all my progressive presidents to aid and fund genocide. Like, that's my favorite thing about being a progressive.
That's what progressives stand for. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
bombing children.
That's always, and I've always said that.
Let's get back to the numbers here. I think we should just go through the headlines in this thing and just talk about them briefly. So we talked about men, especially men of color, shifting towards Republicans.
Which is insane.
It's the easiest one to understand. I think that there were 101 of these articles that were written after the immediate post-election, where they're like, Latinos in particular, but all men of color sort of have issue with being with a woman in charge. They're just machismo or whatever. I don't know if it's true. I'm just saying that those articles got written, and I saw them.
But can I just ask you a question? On this? How bad do you have to be? How bad does your party have to be for a group of men, Latino men specifically, to vote for the other guy who has vowed basically your end to citizenship in the United States?
Yeah. We talked about this on the pod. It was either last week or the week before, but there were a number of interviews given in articles that we've read recently of people saying, like, I didn't think he meant all Latinos when he said all Latinos. I thought he meant criminals. I thought he meant, these murderers and rapists and things. I didn't think he meant it when he said all Latinos in America would be deported.
So,
and you're like, well, okay, buyer's remorse is a problem, but how do you not get the messaging when he's shouting it? You know what I mean? Like, how do you combat that? How do you tell people he's going to deport you? And then they're like, no, he's not. And then how do I argue with that on the campaign trail?
I have to ask. So in 2016, people told me the same thing that they told me in 2024, that the reason that, and I had to look at the year. I'm like, is this the right year? What year is this? If the reason that Hillary Clinton lost was misogyny, okay, then why did you allow, in what should be, again, the most important election of our lives, another woman to just grab the Democratic nomination and go? If you're telling me that misogyny is the reason, okay, that Hillary, then why wouldn't that have? You think we solved misogyny in 8 years? Okay, no, that's not it. So, but what I want to hear, okay, we've done it your way. We keep doing it your way, okay? You're telling me that it's because she's a woman? Okay, fine. Give us, do we need to do a white progressive? Then, all right, fine. We'll do a white progressive.
Did we have any of those?
No, we haven't done it. Wait, we had a guy. We had a guy. I forget his name. We rarely talk about him. I'd have to look it up.
Bernard
something or other. Anyway, let's move on to the other headline here, which women didn't really rally for Harris and Latino women moved right. And then we've already talked about this. I mean,
we actually talked about this in the campaign stages for Harris, and I was saying, because I think that we found that, like, the League of Women Voters or something, like, begrudgingly gave her their endorsement, and like women groups, Women for Women, were like, this isn't the champion for women that we're looking for.
That's
and you're
crazy.
Like, can't you just pretend for a bit though? But I mean, I think that it was felt throughout the electorate. I think that all voting, not all, I shouldn't say it that way, many voting women were like, this is not a woman who represents me, and were more turned off to that than they were to, this is a man who clearly doesn't represent me.
Yeah.
Which is sort of hard to get your head around, but psychologically you kind of get it. You're like, this is like off-putting to me because of how they're trying to say that this is a mirroring thing, and it isn't to me. And they're not even pretending. This guy doesn't stand for me, and that's fine.
The constituents gave the Democratic Party all of the signals. I go back and talk about one of the core reasons why she lost was in Michigan, when the Muslim groups in Michigan said, we are not going to support you and your regime who is enabling a genocide in Gaza. Now, that didn't say they were supporting Donald Trump. They said, you want our vote, you have to earn it. Tell us that you're going to stop the genocide. This is really easy. Doesn't cost $1 million podcast on say your daddy's name or whatever who's your dad, whatever the name of that podcast was. Just the million, however much money Kamala and her team spent on redoing the set of that podcast. That call me.
See, that's lost even on me as a political head. Like, I don't even remember that. It was so long ago and so insignificant. But you're right though. Further down in this report, it talks specifically about Biden voters and new voters were the least likely to vote Democratic ever. And that blows my mind. That means that new voters historically lean Democrat because they're young, they have ideals, they haven't been crushed by the world, they're not cynics by and large, and they want to believe in the good that government can do. So statistically, historically, young voters are more likely to be Democrats. Biden voters staying home blows my mind. You have to go pretty far down actually to find this. It's
oh, here it is.
Just under the super voters. There you go. And it's just, I mean, look at the drop off numbers that we have here at the bottom.
To be fair, weren't a lot of Biden voters dead?
Is that
I'm
fair?
Sorry. What?
No, you're right. I mean, we have to acknowledge that there's an elephant in the room, is that Biden came on in 2020 in the midst of an epidemic, and a lot of baby boomers, significant swath of them being Democrats, are no longer voting for one reason or another. I can't tell you the specifics of it, but I mean, you can see it here in this chart, right? Where you look at the number of drop-off voters. 2012 was the second term for Obama, right? They said they had 27 million drop-off voters, and they had 24 million new voters. So they lost 3 million votes from 8 to 12. You go up to 2024, they had 30 million drop-off voters and only 26 million return. This is like the drop-off from Obama's second term campaign.
So I know people, I know it's a grim thing to talk about, but an estimated 2.5 million elderly people die a year. That's people, and elderly, I hate to say the number, but it classifies it as 65 and older.
Right.
2.5 million die every year. Every 4 years, you're basically getting an influx of 10 million new voters and losing 10 million former elderly voters. Okay,
it's less than that, because currently the elderly section is all baby boomers, and they outnumber the next generation.
Sure,
pretty substantially. So maybe it's 10 million drop out and 6 to 8 million come in.
Right.
But yeah, generally you're having a replacement in every demo up there.
I mean, this says 26 million new voters in 2024. So I mean, that's why. So maybe the number on the other side is even bigger as well. So, and also, you know, people who have been around a while who haven't voted yet also, you know, are like, okay, I'm going to register to vote for the first time or whatever. But it is something that you have to talk about. The landscape changes, you know, significantly.
If you read these quotes here beneath these charts, just start at the Republican playbook and go.
So the Republican playbook has historically counted less on refreshing these rotating marginal voters, writes Catalyst, but these data suggests that may become a more important part of their electoral coalition. I mean, I'm not sure.
The future Republican candidates may not be able to replicate Trump's performance, is like the takeaway here. They're like, Trump is an aberration, which is the second election winning event that he has done, as an aberration in this way of expanding the caucus, bringing more people into the tent and making a party his party.
So this is the other thing that worries me, though, when you're talking to like Democratic strategists, is that, okay, in 2028, hopefully you don't have to worry about Trump v3. But if you don't have to worry about Trump v3, I feel like the Democrats are going to be a little bit more complacent. Like, oh, okay, now we're up against Ted Cruz.
JD Vance.
That's easy. JD Vance, that's going to be easy. That's no problem. Marco Rubio, which would be frightening based on what he's shown us as Secretary of State right now. But all of these things adds up to I'm really, really worried about the direction of the Democratic Party.
No, it harkens back to what I was saying before, where, like you're saying, they're going to have the strategists will say, okay, Trump was an aberration. We don't need to change the playbook very much for that. But look at these numbers that suggest you need to move a little bit to the right, because look at how many voters you've lost.
Right.
And those two things contradict each other just at face value. Like, you think about it for 1 second, you're like, well, wait, if he's an aberration, then why should I move to the right? Because that's what he drew. Why would I change? But it's going to be either no change, which is still arguably bad for the Democratic caucus, or shift to the right so that you can appease these imaginary voters that you concocted.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, that's what happened. Maybe we'll wait on Kamala's book so she can blame Bernie Sanders, and we'll go from there. Yeah, good stuff. All right, moving on to more hilarious stuff.
What?
Look at these. Look at these two.
These clowns.
Look at these two. I just can't. Coke-eyed FBI director Kash Patel is in a lot of trouble with his MAGA base.
They found his Coke?
They found it. No, his MAGA base is apparently really mad because he said, yeah, actually, Jeffrey Epstein did kill himself.
Yeah. The thing that I have to point out here is that this is unfortunately one of the two end games for these conspiracy theorist people. Their bases are largely drummed up from outrage and wide distrust of the government and the stories being told by the legacy newspapers. And when he, as FBI director, was presented with facts and was allowed to come to his own conclusion based on those facts that he saw, and in the deposition, or maybe it was just, I don't remember exactly what he was doing, but he said under penalty of perjury that he'd seen the pictures of Jeffrey Epstein and he knows a suicide when he sees one. And your conspiracy theorist followers didn't put you there to say that. They wanted to hear the truth about what happened to Jeffrey Epstein. And this is just the party line again. So this is the one way it plays out. The other is obviously he just does the RFK Jr. thing and lies and comes to the conclusions his conspiracy theorists want him to. So this is the better solution, A, because it makes him look like an idiot and to his base and they hate him for it. But two, because he's doing the right thing. He sees evidence and he says what it says.
I'm fascinated by the Jeffrey Epstein stuff and the MAGA cult and conspiracy theorists, because the thing that always gets me is, yeah, okay, you don't think he killed himself. So you think that somebody maybe in the highest position in government pulled some levers and had the guy killed. Who was the president at the time that Jeffrey Epstein was being incarcerated and then died?
President Autopen.
President Autopen? No, it was Donald Trump.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. That's weird, right? So the same guy who keeps saying he's going to release the Epstein files, the same guy who Jeffrey Epstein died under his watch as president. Now, the guy...
Under what his followers claim are dubious circumstances.
Right. And now the guy, the conspiracy theorist podcasters that he appointed to the FBI are now confirming he did indeed kill himself. If I were a conspiracy theorist and I didn't have an allegiance to a political party, I'd be like, holy shit, Donald Trump killed Jeffrey Epstein. Like, it couldn't be more...
Stranger things have happened.
Right?
J.D. Vance allegedly stabbed the Pope.
Right, we still know that, allegedly.
So, there have been a lot of alleged things coming out of the Epstein saga. I don't know what you want to call that. His years and years of human trafficking and terrible stuff. But Donald Trump has been associated with him for a very long time.
Right, since the beginning.
And so I think there have been some, at the very least, credible allegations that perhaps Donald Trump might be implicated on any findings that would come out about it, Jeffrey Epstein. And so maybe if you're that guy in that hypothetical, you really don't want the Epstein thing to be a suicide. You'd rather that, that was the conspiracy theorists were right and we can put it to bed.
Yeah, I don't know. Looks fishy to me. I'm just saying. So, I mean, when Alex Jones is upset, though, you really have to wonder what you've done wrong. Okay? So
are the fish gay?
Alex Jones thinks something's fishy and gay here. So, yeah. All right, that's that. Hey, I wanted to share a nice story.
Okay.
Mohsen Badawi, fresh out of U.S. detention, walks the graduation stage at Columbia. I just thought this was awesome to see him go from, potentially, still being in prison, to freed, able to graduate, and able to still speak rather, what's the word? Well,
Poetically.
bluntly,
Okay.
about the Trump administration. Which, man, talk about having the cojones. I mean, this is a guy I would want representing me. I mean, he gets out of being detained, and it's just like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Arrest me again? So yeah, really, really happy for him though. And I just wanted to point that out. However, it doesn't go without mentioning that though many of these people are free, Khalil still is not.
Right.
And I wish I knew what was going on. I don't know if you have any information on Mahmoud Khalil.
I don't have anything on Khalil. I think that we're still waiting because his case was supposed to be remanded back to not Louisiana. I don't remember which one he's from, if he's from Maine or whatever, but he was supposed to be returned there, and he was
in New York, and then he got dragged. He was taken in New Jersey or something.
In New Jersey, yeah. Okay,
yeah,
so the last I recall, the court had ordered him to be returned to New Jersey, and the government is appealing that decision. So I think it's in limbo at the moment.
Because I did see a number of, at least stories of a number of planes leaving Louisiana. I don't know if it was last night or this morning, and heading overseas. So that's a little worrisome. But yeah, it's just weird. It's been kind of silent.
I don't have it off the top of my head here, but I do know that I can get his court listener.
Yeah, May 22nd, he's scheduled to appear in Louisiana.
There you go.
As part of the ongoing proceedings. Okay. Well, it's good to at least know.
Yeah, he was remanded as the last court order on March 29th to be returned, and so there's things that are happening there.
Wait, what? No, sorry, this can't be right. The
what?
ACLU says he was released on May 4th. Did I miss this?
Well, you have Madawi up. I thought we were talking about Khalil.
No, we are. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sharing the wrong screen. I'm so confused. No. Okay.
Right. Again, the last court order I have was from March 29th, and it's to be remanded to back to New Jersey, I assume. We can check on that in the next episode.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. It's always in my mind. We can end on one more just ridiculous topic before we wrap things up today.
I did include some hot breaking news over there if you wanted.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
I don't see it. I don't see the breaking news. All right. Well, okay. You know what? You guys know about the Bruce Springsteen stuff. Go look into it. I need to talk about this breaking news. We have live updates. Trump announces the Golden Dome missile defense system. Is that it? It's already been built? Can we watch this? Do you mind? Can I watch this announcement?
I don't know how long it is. We can try.
Let's see it. Let's try and play this. Oh, it's 29 minutes. So let's see if we can skip to the good stuff.
You're gonna make me listen to this fat idiot. All
right. Well, hey. Look at this.
He looks great, doesn't he?
He looks awful.
That's his move. Why does he always do that? He's like, I don't think anybody's talking to him.
He's like a weird parrot. Yeah, he's a.
Is he? Like, is that a stretch?
Thank you very much, and thank you for being here in the Oval Office, one of the great places of the world, as we make a historic announcement about the Golden Dome missile defense shield. That's something we want. And Ronald Reagan wanted it many years ago, but they didn't have the technology. But
okay.
It's something we're going to have. We're going to have it at the highest level.
Oh, at the highest level.
That's good.
Secretary Hegseth, who's been fantastic, and Secretary
DUI hire.
And Space Force Vice Chief of Space Operations, General Mike Gutlein. I also want to recognize Senators Dan Sullivan, Kevin Cramer, and Jim Banks, fantastic senators, great talents, great political talents, and people that love our country. In the campaign, I promised the American people that I would build a cutting-edge missile defense shield to protect our homeland from the threat of foreign missile attack. And
let's skip ahead.
Is already big, but the Golden Dome is going to be an even bigger legacy for our country, and Indiana is going to help you make it. Right. The space satellites that are made in Fort Wayne, Indiana by L3 Harris, all the work done at Crane Navy Base in southern Indiana is going to be a big part of it, and Hoosiers are very proud of that. We're proud of you. Thank you very much.
Space satellites.
It'll be a big factor. Thank you.
It looks like the dome is covering like half of Mexico. Is that?
They're not going to get any of it. Don't worry about it.
Okay, I want to make sure.
Also, it's clearly covering Canada if you just think about that for 1 second.
Please go ahead. You missed that. This is Senator Cramer, and he's one of our best. Can't get any better. Go ahead.
Well, you're very nice, Mr. President, and thanks for this. And I remember the day in your first term when you called, and I was a brand new baby freshman senator on the Armed Services Committee, and you said, I want to have a Space Force. Would you lead the effort on the Senate Armed Services Committee? And I felt so proud thinking that you chose me.
All right, I don't want to watch any more ass kissing. The idea is basically, Israel's Iron Dome. Trump saw that and he's like, how do I make that gold? How do I make it gold and have my own? So.
So for those who are unaware, the Iron Dome basically is a missile defense system that purports to detect when missiles are entering your airspace and then shoot them down.
Right.
I don't think it works. It right? Does it work?
I don't know. Does it work? I mean, they're always complaining that Hamas is destroying stuff. So I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. It's and actually the United States has been trying this particular type of missile defense system. He's right about that for a very long time. I remember hearing about it back in the 90s. That wasn't called the Golden Dome back then, but they were basically trying to shoot projectiles out of the air with other projectiles. They've changed this to a laser defense system or something. I'm not really certain. But basically what they would do is they would fire a fake missile from Florida or wherever, and they're going to land it somewhere in the desert where it wouldn't hurt anybody. And then they'd try and shoot it out of the air from one of these missile defense systems. It's just a simple ballistics missile that would basically just destroy it, and then everything would burn up on reentry and it wouldn't be able to do anything. And then they'd miss by a few miles every single time, and we'd flush $10 million down. At the time, $10 million, but today, who cares? One Trump coin.
Right. One Trump
coin, and we'd move on with our day. So it sounds like they're trying to revitalize that project that was considered a big failure in our country, and I think is actually a big failure in Israel, but is touted as a great success. But I'm not up to date on the Iron Dome today, so maybe I'm mistaken about that.
So the Iron Dome, as I'm reading here, has a 90% success rate. 90% of rockets launched from Gaza, supposedly, allegedly, have been intercepted. Now, if Russia, China, whoever, shoots 100 missiles at us, and 10 of them get through. Is that good?
Not for Americans.
Okay. That's not who I was asking for.
Or like agriculture or
anything.
The rest of the world.
Yeah,
or
this is going to
anything that breathes air.
This is going to cost so much goddamn money. It's unfathomable. I mean, they're putting it around, like $200 billion or whatever. Yeah. I mean, I'm just reading about the Iron Dome, and like each battery costs $50 million. It costs $150,000 per single interception. I mean,
so Trump announced that it would cost $175 billion to complete over the course of 3 years.
No chance.
Zero
chance. No chance.
Also, how are they going to get this into the reconciliation budget? 175 billion? We're not in the trillions yet, but I thought they were going to cut taxes. The deficit's going to go through the roof. What happened to all those deficit hawks on the right who were yelling at us about the deficit being too high? Where's Ron Paul when you need him?
Well, don't worry. All you need is
Rand Paul.
Caroline Leavitt to come out in front of the press as press secretary and just say, no, we're actually lowering the deficit, idiots. And that's it.
That's the same. Yeah, that was what I was saying earlier about the parts of their party who just lean into the lies. They don't care. They have no scruples, and they don't care that if you put it in the paper that they're liars. They're like, well, I said it. What are you going to do about it?
Man, here, I mean, I shouldn't have clicked on this. I'm ready to wrap up today. Rubio says U.S. is encouraging but not threatening Israel over humanitarian aid to Gaza. What does that mean? If read the wrong way, if read the way that I understand Rubio, this headline reads, he's encouraging them not to provide humanitarian aid to Gaza. That's how I'm reading this headline.
Read in diplomatic relations, I think it means like they're saying you should allow, aid to Gaza, and wink, wink, we're not going to do anything about it if you don't.
I just want to add before we end the show that a report came out yesterday. As I was listening to Democracy Now! This morning, that if aid, because aid has been stopped, there's famine, people are dying. The report said that if aid does not continue immediately, over 14,000 babies will die within the next 48 hours in Gaza.
Yeah.
We have 48 hours basically to get aid over there, or 14,000.
Less now.
Yeah, I mean less now. So wow, there you go for all you the Christian right that really care about the children. But I assume you only
They're really excited about the Golden Dome, though.
American-born white babies. Man. All right.
Are we under imminent threat from missile strikes? Do we have enemies who actually strike American soil with missiles?
Well, right now, I think obviously at least what we've always been told is you got to worry about Russia and China and not really North Korea because they're just silly. But now, I think that they're our friends, right? Where they're Trump's friends. So,
that's sort of my point is that, okay, I'm giving way too much grace here, but Israel had some reason to construct their Iron Dome. They were like, we need a missile defense system because we have this constant threat of terrorism from Hamas in Gaza. And I go, okay, but like California's not getting hit by, missiles being lobbed over the border from Mexico. Neither is Texas. Neither is, that's not happening. Canada's not lobbing stuff over the border to hit, North Dakota. So why are we building the Golden Dome? Is it in anticipation of going to war with these two states?
Yep. So I mean, it's just to find another way to funnel money into the military, probably into defense contractors that give them lots of money. This is probably just another money laundering scheme. You'll get a half-baked whatever. It's going to be the same system we currently have that can almost shoot missiles out of the air. I mean, I'm sure that if we saw a missile coming in from China, we'd have plenty of time to deploy, jets and try and shoot it down. It'll be the same thing. We're just gonna spend $200 billion on whatever, messing around
on a name.
Yeah. So anyway, that's great. It's a good place to end. We had a lot of crazy stuff that we got to talk about this week. Next week, it's 2 days. Mahmoud Khalil will appear in court and hopefully soon be returning to his family. So hopefully we have some good news to talk about next Tuesday. I'm sure we will have some other absolute nonsense. This isn't like the 86-47 whatever that James
was that like was I was like, are you doing a terrorism on the air?
I'm doing an 86-47. But yeah, MAGA is going after Dan Bongino and Kash Patel.
Good.
So we're gonna see how that plays out for them. The leopard eats the faces party shocked again when leopards eating faces.
I love it so much.
Okay. Everybody, we said before, don't comment in our YouTube videos. I dare you not to comment on our YouTube videos.
You can't help yourselves.
Or do
your comments. You just can't help yourself.
Like, share, subscribe, do all that other stuff. I have to go back and edit this to take out the whites of their skulls because now I'm worried. That's it from me. thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, all that jazz. Mike, you got anything to say to the nice people?
Thanks, everybody. We appreciate you listening.
See you next time.